huge surprise closes out WWE Money in the Bank 2025. R-Truth has returned. Wow. Ron Killings shows up in the main event under a hood, helping Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso take down John Cena and Logan Paul. R-Truth attacks John Cena, allowing Cody Rhodes to hit Cena with the Crossroads and get the win. And it is a delight. It is so great to see R-Truth back. We're probably going to learn what the deal is with this and what led to his return. Here's one thing I'm going to say up front, because I already know social media is going crazy with the same thing. It was a work. It was a work. It was a work. Now, granted, we don't know really for sure anything, but it was not a work. I don't believe it was a work. I think this is a situation more like what WWE went through years ago with Matt Hardy and a few years later with Daniel Bryan. Matt Hardy was let go due to the Lita and Edge affair, and the fans went nuts. WWE brought him back. Daniel Bryan was fired for choking Justin Roberts during that Nexus angle. Fans went nuts. They brought him back. R-Truth was informed that they were not going to renew his contract. They offered him something that was way lower than his previous deal. He declined it, so they opted not to renew him. So he's gone. Fans flipped out. WWE brought him back. Without knowing anything about this or reading anything about this today or what we're going to learn here in the future, if I had to take some sort of an educated guess, I would think that based on the fan response to R-Truth being let go, that WWE reached back out to him and said, okay, that deal we offered you that turned you down, we're going to sweeten it up a bit. Looks like the fans want you back. We'd love to keep you. And something was worked out. And I think that's awesome, because we were very fearful that years of that type of service, years of that type of loyalty, and how beloved someone is by the fans to just be so unceremoniously just cast aside just for bullshit budget cuts is really shitty. And it's really, WWE has not been endearing themselves to the audience. They've been doing their best, it feels like, to alienate us a lot of the times, especially with what they were saying and doing during WrestleMania week, during all the media and whatnot. And this is just one more thing to where it's just not a good look for them. And it's really made the fans, opened up a lot of younger fans' eyes to, capitalism and, and the business side of this and this corporate, nature of internally what goes on in pro wrestling now, with WWE now being owned by another entity, that, all of those things that make you a good employee or a good wrestler don't mean anything, and they can just cut you even if you're featured on TV against the world champion on national television on NBC, and a week later you are gone. It was very head scratching. So it feels like a decision that WWE immediately regretted, and they have worked something out to get R-Truth back. That's my guess. Now, we'll learn more. We're going to get some information on this, I'm sure. Everybody's on the case. I'm sure Sean and everybody is looking into this. But I feel like it's probably a situation where they reached out to him and said, okay, we might still need to lower your current deal, but maybe we're not going to lowball you as much as we did before. And whatever they offered him was enough for R-Truth to say, all right, I will come back. That's my guess. I would be very, very shocked if WWE tried to make this a work on the same day that Carlito was let go. And then just, another day later, who was it? Sarah Logan. Same thing. Their situations with their contracts were not going to be renewed. So I think the fans immediately assuming that this is a work, just think about it. Does it sound like a work to you? Does it sound like your typical WWE work? Does WWE want to start working releases? Sometimes you work a contract situation into a storyline like they did at Money in the Bank all those years ago with CM Punk and John Cena, but this is something you're not just going to manufacture a release out of the blue, and then get the fans clamoring for you and then bring you back in. That would make no sense. So it doesn't seem like a work to me. It just seems like WWE realized they shouldn't let this guy go. And I feel like because of this might now increase, the chances of Karrion Kross sticking around. I've been saying all along, they're purposely putting him on main event to get him these loud reactions, to get him this like support from the audience bubbling to where they're calling for him. I think WWE is kind of manufacturing that a little bit. But when you take into consideration that he's in a contract year as well, they might be benching him on main event until they get his contract situation figured out. But for a while there, it felt like WWE's doing all of this on purpose. They're giving us Karrion Kross in small doses on Raw behind the scenes, and then we're getting him in main event matches to get the fans saying, we want Kross, we want Kross, we want Kross. So hopefully WWE is going to take notice to how the fans are responding to some of these situations. And since they've brought back R-Truth, maybe they'll do whatever they need to do to keep Kross around, since the fans clearly want to see more of him as well. But really cool that R-Truth came back in this main event to help Cody and Jey Uso win. Looking at some of these grades in the chat, you guys are being pretty kind to the show. I thought it was just decent. I didn't think it was, I can't give it an A. I'm going to give it a B-. I do see B+, A-, mid, very mid. I see a B. I don't see anything less than a B in here so far. So it looks like your grades are somewhat good for this show. We did get one extra match added during Worlds Collide today. Dominic mixed it up with Octagon Jr., and they added an Intercontinental Championship match to this show, and that gave us our 5th match on the card. It ran over 3 hours to get those 5 matches done. When you look at both Money in the Bank matches for the men and the women in terms of what they did in the match, the spots they did, I felt like nothing was really that nuts. I feel like there was a couple of spots in the men's match that was very good, but in terms of what we've seen in other years, nothing really stood out in either of these matches. The women had a couple of attempts there. We had dueling code reds on a couple of bridge ladders. That was kind of cool. The men did something similar, but overall, I'd say they were probably somewhat typical Money in the Bank ladder matches for the men and the women. Let me know in the chat if you agree or not. And then, of course, we had the Women's Intercontinental Championship match as well, which we did see Becky Lynch winning the IC title. In terms of my predictions, got every match right except for one, and that was the men's Money in the Bank. I predicted LA Knight. We got Rollins winning the Money in the Bank briefcase for the men. And, of course, in the opener, it was Naomi winning for the women. Naomi, I was pretty confident in. I first mentioned Naomi winning the Money in the Bank, I think the Monday after WrestleMania, because I had picked her to beat Jade Cargill. I was surprised she didn't, and it didn't make sense to me that right after this great heel turn that they would beat her like that. And then I said, unless she wins Money in the Bank, then it's totally fine for her to lose at WrestleMania to Jade Cargill. And that's what happened. I had her picked before she even qualified. So I felt pretty good about Naomi. Didn't feel great about my LA Knight pick, and I think that the Rollins victory is going to provide some interesting TV, although I was of the opinion going into this that Rollins just does not need that briefcase. He already has so many aces in the hole. He's got a main event WrestleMania victory, which by that alone should earn him a championship match somewhere. He also has Paul Heyman by his side, who Paul Heyman was able to somehow get Sami Zayn a championship match on SmackDown if Sami Zayn had chosen to go over there, but he can't secure a championship match for Rollins? How the fuck did he pull that off? How was Heyman able to get a match against John Cena for Sami for not even one of his guys, but he can't get a title match on Raw for one of his own guys? You know what I mean? I feel like Rollins, between having Heyman by his side and the big victory over Roman and Punk at WrestleMania, give him a fucking title match. He doesn't need a green thing to get that. He should just get a title match at SummerSlam. Now they got the King of the Ring that they're going to be kicking off qualifying matches for, I think on Monday on Raw. And the winner of that gets a world championship match against whoever the champion is on that brand. So I was of the belief that Rollins would probably just get a title shot at SummerSlam anyway, and then Cody can win the King of the Ring and face John Cena. So all of the scenarios in my head, I'm like, I just can't see Rollins needing that briefcase. So let's give it to LA Knight. Rollins, I think, has a path. He's got multiple paths to the championship without the briefcase. So that's why I wasn't picking him. I thought CM Punk would come out and cost him, or Sammy and Punk would both try to come out. They would get neutralized by Reed and Breaker. We did see Reed and Breaker, but they were out there messing around with Jacob and Cobb. So, I just didn't think that. I thought Roman Reigns could come out possibly and cost Seth Rollins. I thought somebody would cost him. is what I thought would happen. And he wound up winning the briefcase after all, which I'm not necessarily disappointed about. I just think that Rollins could achieve what his ultimate goal is in his faction. He could achieve that without the briefcase. But now he is the briefcase holder, and give me your predictions on how long it's going to take him to cash in. He had a hell of an opportunity here tonight with Logan Paul hitting that beautiful moonsault onto Jey Uso through the announce table. He had an opportunity there, and he's probably going to have a big opportunity on Monday night as well, as Jey Uso was set to face Gunther, which I'm sure Jey Uso was going to survive that. And I feel like that's where we have to see Goldberg. If Goldberg is going to have that retirement match on Saturday night's main event as expected, I believe that we need to see him on Monday night and getting involved in that Jey and Gunther match somehow to set that up. And then you could have Rollins just cash in right there. I mean, what's the rush when you got Breakker and Reed backing you up? You should take the opportunity to jump on that as at your first available opportunity. And that could very well be on Monday night. But I also think Rollins could hold it for a while. Rollins and Cody had a little bit of an interaction last night on SmackDown. And I think Cody and Rollins or Cody and Punk, one of those matches needs to happen at WrestleMania next year. So I could also see a scenario of Cody Rhodes winning the King of the Ring, challenging John Cena at SummerSlam, beating John Cena for the title, and then Rollins cashing in on Cody. Cody's got those 3 big wins over Rollins, and if Rollins cashes in on Cody, then you could have their rematch at WrestleMania or something like that. And then Cody can spend the rest of the year fucking around with John Cena if he wants. So you got options. A lot of fans are of the belief that Rollins will just cash in for the World Heavyweight title, and that's fine. I just associate Paul Heyman with the big belt, I feel like whoever Paul Heyman is with is going after the title that Cena is currently holding, not the other one. So for Rollins to cash in on the World Heavyweight title, a title that he's already held, again, is fine, but I think it would be more fun if Seth Rollins wound up winning the belt that John Cena is carrying. Whether he beats John Cena or he beats Cody or he beats someone else, I'm kind of hoping that Rollins holds out and cashes in on that champion. In terms of Naomi, I think she's going to cash in on Tiffany, probably at Evolution. And then Naomi will defend against Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill at SummerSlam. That's where I feel like it might be going for both of those guys. DJG has got Seth Rollins winning the title tomorrow, which means Seth Rollins is going to make a run-in during our King of the Ring 2001 watch-along and cash in on Austin. That's pretty cool. That's awesome, DJG. I think you mean on Monday, but I get what you're saying. PW Insider is reporting, this is via Ryan Adams, that the decision to bring back Truth happened over the last 72 hours. He is back as Ron Killings, at least initially. He's back as Ron Killings. Interesting. Stone Cold's got $2. 3 years in a row, LA Knight has lost Money in the Bank. Right, that's why I had him picked. Zane G's got 2. R-Truth is demand. Glad he's back. And Ryan Adams, your earlier $2 says, wow, Truth just released merch that says Ron Killings. So they're not even bringing him back as R-Truth. They're bringing him back as Ron Killings, Ron the Truth Killings. That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm so glad they brought him back. My God. Anyway, if you guys don't mind smashing that thumbs up button here, we are going to get into our review of this show. Let me just pull up a little refresher here on the results. We also had an announcement tonight, couple of big announcements. Number one, officially where WrestleMania 42 is going to be. It is, in fact, going to be in Las Vegas. So they did make that announcement that they would be returning there next year for WrestleMania. And they also announced that on Monday, Nikki Bella is making her return to WWE. She is back. And we're going to hear from her on Monday. So that's pretty surprising. So anyway, let's run through the results of tonight's show. This is your WWE King of the Ring, WWE Money in the Bank 2025 review. We opened up with, well, actually, we first should mention Worlds Collide. Worlds Collide today here in California, Southern California, went live at noon. My God, they were out there at noon. And in the main event, we did see Vikingo successfully retain the AAA Mega Championship, defeating Chad Gable. WWE won the night, or won the day, 3 matches to 2. AAA went into that main event down 3-1. So WWE got the overall head-to-head match, but AAA won the main event. I guess that's about as evenly as you can book it. But as expected, Vikingo did retain the title, and that was a pretty badass match. Also during the show, that's where they set up Dominic and Octagon Jr. for the IC title at Money in the Bank. And overall, it was a pretty fun event there. It was really cool to see kind of like the AAA vibe, but with a WWE polish. It was cool to see the ring ropes and, kind of the lights dim and, just get a feel for that. We had Conan and Corey Graves on commentary. They were oil and water. Conan has just very, very kind of low Gordon Solie-ish type of energy to him. And Corey, I could tell, was getting annoyed with him, and I think vice versa. It was kind of a funny little commentary team there. But overall, I think the Worlds Collide show was a success, and we had Stephanie Vicaire, shout out to her, wrestling last night on SmackDown, then at Worlds Collide basically this morning, and then she worked the Money in the Bank women's match, which opened the show. And it was your Money in the Bank women's match that opened. It was Julia and Rhea Ripley, Roxanne Perez, Naomi, and Stephanie Vicaire, and Alexa Bliss. And like I said, I had picked Naomi months ago, and I wasn't going to back off from that pick. However, when you looked at the field here, man, you could really make a case for everybody. You really could. But as we were kind of thinking out loud throughout the match, one thing I kind of disqualified Stephanie. I just feel like Naomi would just make a better briefcase holder. Stephanie, she's got her connection with the audience. I think she's going to be able to earn championship matches kind of her own way, where Naomi, I feel like it fits her story more. Like Naomi running around with the briefcase, to me, storyline-wise, would be a little bit more interesting than Stephanie Vicaire running around with a briefcase, because Naomi is connected to so many people, and her cashing in and what she could potentially do at SummerSlam, that felt like it was the way to go. Some interesting spots here, but it was a kind of a little bit clunky at the same time. They did try to do a dueling code red spot with, I know, Stephanie Vicaire, maybe, and Julia on one side, and I forgot who was on the other. But it just didn't come off that great, didn't look too good. And some of the spots they attempted were dangerous looking, and only a few of them, kind of really stood out as anything too spectacular. In the end, of course, it was Naomi who found her way up there to retrieve the briefcase. She came close a couple of times, and then she was knocked out. I was always had my eye on her. Whenever they did a wide shot, I'm like, where is she? To see if she's on the ground, to see if she's stirring. And she was able to emerge at the end, ascend the ladder, pull off the briefcase, and just posed with it. Just this most badass shot of her just holding the briefcase. And I'm so happy for Naomi. I 100% expect her to successfully cash in the briefcase. I think she'll cash in on Tiffany. She'll stay over on Raw. I'd be surprised. On SmackDown. I'd be surprised if she showed up on Raw and cashed in on Io Sky. It doesn't feel like that's the direction. I feel like she'd cash in on Naomi. And we're setting up for that big Naomi and Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair match. And I think that is slated for SummerSlam. And maybe after she beats Tiffany, maybe Tiffany heads to Raw. I don't know what's going to happen there. I feel like if she cashes in on Tiffany, that Tiffany's going to be earned a rematch as well. So I don't think it'll be a four-way. I think the story is to do Naomi, Jade, and Bianca as a three-way. So you got to get the rematch with Tiffany out of the way, or done, or move Tiffany. I don't know how that works if the plan is to do the triple threat at SummerSlam. But either way, Naomi is your briefcase holder, and if I'm her, I'm cashing it in at Evolution. That's where I'm doing it. After that was the Intercontinental Championship match, right? It was Dominic defending against Octagon Jr. They set this up at Worlds Collide a couple of hours earlier with Dom, I think, laid down the challenge, right? This wasn't that surprising of an outcome here. Dominic was not going to be dropping the Intercontinental title to this guy, but I did think it was cool how they were able to get a AAA star onto a major WWE pay-per-view, even though it was last minute. And the match didn't go very long. I want to say it was under 10 minutes. Dominic wound up getting the win. We had Psycho Clown and Vikingo and Mr. Iguana or whatever all at ringside there, and Dominic was trash-talking them. So I'm glad that they added a fifth match. It didn't have to be long. It wasn't long. Dominic retained his Intercontinental Championship and celebrated with Liv Morgan. And it was what it was. I guess just a little bit of filler there. But then we followed it up with a second Intercontinental Championship match. Lyra Valkyria defending against Becky Lynch. Now, I had Becky Lynch winning here. It felt like that was what they were going to do. It was just a matter of how the match was going to go. I do want to shout out Becky's gear. I really liked her in that, like, it was almost like street fight-ish gear. Like, that's what she would wear if she was in a no-holds-barred match with a bunch of kendo sticks and shit. But she kind of had long pants on, just kind of like a regular sleeveless shirt. She looked really good. I liked it. And the match with Lyra was good. I'm a big fan of Lyra. She's really impressed me since coming in. I've even kind of warmed up a little bit to her ridiculous comic book sounding name and even her gimmick with the wings. The fans are even singing her song now. And plus she's been really passing every test the WWE's put in front of her, especially on the mic and interacting with Becky in those segments and stuff. She's tremendous. And I feel like she's got a bright future, and the women's division is in good hands with someone like her on the roster. But I still had Becky Lynch winning here. Pretty good match. Becky Lynch winds up countering, a little pin reversal there and holding the tights, holding the gear of Lyra to hold her down for the 3 count. And of course, per the stip, Lyra has to raise the hand of Becky, but she's got to raise the hand of a woman who cheated to beat her. And then Becky tries to push her luck, says, no, you can't just raise it once. You need to raise it in every corner. And then she makes Lyra put the belt on her. And then Lyra just has enough. As she's putting the belt around Becky, she hits her with a German suplex and kicks her ass and walks away. So I feel like on Monday night, we have an excellent chance to see Bayley come back. I feel like at Evolution, you either do Bayley challenging Becky for the title or you do a triple threat. Bayley, Becky, Lyra for the IC title. And since Becky cheated, that should keep Lyra in the running for that title. They shouldn't just discard her. Even if Bayley comes back, you can't forget about Lyra. She needs to get at least an opportunity to win that title back based on how she lost it. That would be the logic I would expect Adam Pearce to apply anyway. So I feel like on Monday, Becky could be out there cutting her victory promo, and then Lyra comes out, complains about Becky cheating. Becky then hits her in the face with the belt, starts attacking her. Out comes Bayley to make the save. And then we got Evolution set up for July. That's how I'd do it. Then it was time for the men's Money in the Bank match. It was Solo Sikoa, LA Knight, Penta, Seth Rollins, Andrade, and El Grande Americano. Now, I was a little bit worried in the Worlds Collide match. It looked like Gable did ding up his arm. And in solidarity to his friend Chad Gable, El Grande Americano came out with his arm all kind of taped up, I guess as a way to say, I support you, my friend. If your arm is hurt, I want my arm to be hurt too. That's the only explanation I could think of as to why Grande would come out there with his arm taped up. But the match, again, much like the women, they did a couple of similar spots as the women, and I feel like they pulled them off a little bit better. There was also some really, really hard-looking bumps. There's always these weird top-of-the-ladder suplex spots that really come down tightly, in the corner or in between a couple of ladders, and those bumps just look absolutely brutal. LA Knight took one. I think he had Seth Rollins or whoever he had and bumped off the ladder. That looked really sick. I think one of the best parts of the match was the story that they kind of set up last night on SmackDown. Rollins really flaunting all of this backup he has, saying, hey, how can I lose with these guys? Which is exactly why I thought he would lose. I thought those guys would be there to neutralize all the normal run-ins, your Punks and your Sammys. But I thought Roman might sneak in and get Seth Rollins. But instead, eventually what we got was Rollins' crew on the way out there. Rollins is on the outside of the ring selling something. He's looking at the camera. Come out here, boys. Come out here. And out come Big Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. They come out there. They annihilate everybody. The first person that gets hit is LA Knight. And I'm like, cool. He's the first one hit. He might be the first one up when the dust settles, and he can climb up there and ascend. So they're out there. They're kicking everybody's ass. But then out come Solo Sikoa and Jeff Cobb. They're coming out there to back up, Jacob Fatu and Jeff Cobb coming out there to back up Solo Sikoa. So Rollins has his backup, and now Solo has his. And that was I wasn't expecting that. I was thinking, Reed and Breaker would be fending off Punk and whatnot. seeing those four guys together. Think about that. Jeff Cobb, Jacob Fatu, Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker. Jesus, what a battle. So they start battling. Jeff Cobb, or JC Mateo, winds up going through, I think, the barricade there with, I guess, with Breaker, I think. Right? Was it Mateo and Breaker? I can't remember. But the most impressive part was Jacob Fatu pop up. Listen to me now. Listen to me. Pop up Samoan drop to Bronson Reed that looked incredible. It looked so good. It looked like he did it to Rey Mysterio, as if Bronson Reed weighed nothing. Damnedest spot I've ever damn seen. So great. Fans lose their shit over that, right? So now Jacob and Cobb kind of take out everybody. Nobody's around. And Jacob is like, come on, Solo, let's get in the ring. And I'm like, what the hell? They're not going to have Solo win this thing. Now, last night on SmackDown, we saw Jacob over here, Solo saying all gas, no brains. So for Jacob just to come out here and help him, it felt like the turn was definitely going to come. But they had me scared for a minute there. I mean, he helps him set up the ladder. Then Solo doesn't like the ladder, and Jacob gets a different ladder, Jacob's ladder, and sets it up. They had a big fireball ladder out there. We had advertisements all over the ring, smeared on the ring. Then we had like a 20-foot fireball whiskey ladder out there. And Solo gets, I don't think this is the one they use, but Jacob gets the ladder that Solo wants, and Solo is very close to the top, and I'm looking at I'm like, no, every single other participant in this match is laid out on the floor. Nobody's like kind of looking over the apron. You can see them stirring, when they're going to come running in and stuff, right? And nobody's doing shit, and I'm like, this can't be happening. And then finally, thank God, Jacob grabs a hold of Solo's ankle, and he's like, and he pulls him down, and he kicks Solo's ass, and he goes, I hate you, Solo, and beats him down, and turns on Solo Sikoa. So now Jacob takes out Solo. All of the dust settles. Nobody is around, and Rollins is able to grab the ladder. I'm still thinking, even when he's halfway up that ladder, even when he has got a fingertip on the briefcase, I'm thinking, where's Punk? Where's Roman? Where's somebody to come out and stop this? And nobody showed up. And sure enough, Seth Rollins unhooks the briefcase and wins the men's Money in the Bank match. That was the entire goal. That's the entire goal of this faction, is to make Seth world champion. And now he's one step closer. He has the briefcase. It's just a matter of now when and where he wants to cash this thing in. Sorry, I'm just going to try to secure my camera a little bit. There we go. It's moving around. So it's just a matter of when he's going to cash that in. Will it be as early as this Monday on Raw? Will it be at SummerSlam? Or will it be in a few months? Or will it be at Evolution? And he'll show up there and Seth Rollins will cash in on Io Sky. That could happen as well. But Rollins, like I said, I laid it all out in the beginning here of the review that I didn't feel like a briefcase was necessary for him. I feel like his resume, having Paul Heyman by his side, plus his main event victory at WrestleMania, I cannot stress that enough, should be enough to warrant him a title match without that briefcase. We saw Paul Heyman negotiate a championship match against John Cena for Sami fucking Zayn if he so choose to take it. And he can't negotiate that for his own guy? What the F? What do you need the green prop for? What you need that for? That's for LA Knight. That's for Penta. That's for those guys. You're Seth Rollins, being advocated by Paul Heyman. You don't need a briefcase. But I guess this is how they want Rollins to win the championship. I felt like it would just be just as effective just to give him a title shot and have Reed and Breaker help him win. That's all you need to do. But instead, he's probably going to bide his time and cash in on a prone champion. But like I said, he's already been world heavyweight champion. Why wouldn't he hold on to that thing and cash in on Cena or cash in on Cody? I would like to see that. I would prefer to see that, actually. I would like to see Rollins cash in on Cody right after Cody beats Cena. I think that would be fun. But we'll see. We'll see how long it takes. As we stand right now, I personally do not believe that it's going to happen on Monday night. But I could be wrong. Cash-ins on Raws are fun. Oh, okay. Ryan, Kathy is crying on the post show about Truth being back. Well, there's probably a lot of people super happy that he's back. He was so well liked in that locker room. You saw Talent. Talent was tweeting. They were pissed because he's their friend. So I'm sure there's a lot of people who are very, very happy about him being back. He deserves to be back. He never really deserved to have that happen to him. You know, they should have kept him around because he still offers things. I'm not against releasing people or cutting their contracts if they've been benched and we haven't seen them in 8 months. Fans don't give a shit about them. You know, Talent is indifferent. You know, they don't do anything for you. You know, but Truth, even at his age, is still contributing. And he's beloved. So I'm glad that WWE thought better of their decision. And maybe there is hope yet. Because I got to tell you, man, it's been really feeling like WWE is... Fans are starting to get turned off from their bullshit, you know? And this was just another thing to add on the pile to where, you know, that's one of the stupidest budget cuts they've ever made, because that budget cut is going to wind up costing you more money by fans who you're turning off to your product by doing shit like this. You're going to lose a lot more money in merch and ticket sales from fans who just don't want to spend money on your product anymore because of shit like this. So these type of investments pay off. You know, and it's well worth it for that company to keep R-Truth around at whatever deal you're paying him for. So it'll be interesting to see how that deal came together. Like we said earlier, I guess a PW Insider is reporting that it happened over the last 3 days. So we'll probably hear more details on that and exactly how that contract is structured. And now he's back as Ron Killings, which is pretty awesome. Good for R-Truth. Welcome back. And that leaves us with the main event. Speaking of R-Truth, it is Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso taking on John Cena and Logan Paul. This was going to be our tag team match main event. I was only hoping that this match would be better than the King of the Ring in 1995. I was worried that we were going to get a 30-year anniversary nod to that tag team match that closed that night that I think might, oh, sorry, Tito, I just kicked him in the face, that I think might have been like a DQ, or not a DQ, maybe like a count-out finish. I got a memory of like Sid running away from Diesel, because he's a coward. And that's kind of like the end of the match. And I remember that being such a disappointment that year. And I'm like, man, I hope this isn't the same type of thing here. But this match was a little bit better, although it was really nothing that great in the ring. My God, I had to watch John Cena and Jey Uso try to chain wrestle each other for a couple of minutes. That was rough. Overall, in the ring, nothing was that spectacular except for a couple of Logan Paul moves. The first one is he terribly botches a buckshot lariat, hops over the ropes, and then his knees just buckle and he crumples. Kind of like how CM Punk did that time when he tried it. And I was worried he might have fucked his knees up, but he didn't. It just, he just botched the move. No big deal, right? But he made up for it. He made up for it and then some. Because then we have, we've got Jey Uso, who's taken out on the announce table. I think it was the same spot where he spears Cena. So Cena and Cody are on one table. Cody hops off. Jey comes running from the other table and spearing John Cena. And then they go down. And then Jey winds up on the table. And Logan Paul goes to the middle rope, does a springboard moonsault, and he got so much air. And he lands right on Jey. The table just explodes. Those new announce tables just look brutal. They look so stiff, so hard. Obviously, they're gimmicked. The announce team probably unhooks some sort of latch that makes it break away or whatnot. But the way normally, though, when those break, it just doesn't look good. Sometimes they just fall on their own because it's just so stupid. They're life-size toys is what they are. But this looked so good. Logan comes with that moonsault, lands on Jey. The table just explodes everywhere. And you think to yourself, shit, there's an opportunity right there for Seth Rollins to come out. And he never did. And then it's, it's Cena and Cody. Cena's got the belt, I believe, right? And he's going to go kind of for like maybe a repeat finish of what we saw at WrestleMania. And that's when we see a hooded figure appear. And usually hooded figures are bad guys. This hooded figure doesn't attack Cody. He attacks Cena. And from the minute he gets to the ring, his shirt comes up a little bit off his pants, and you can see it's a black guy. And I'm like, it's Truth. It's Truth. It's Truth. Who can it be? It has to be Truth. So, if I wouldn't have seen that, I would have been like, who the fuck is this? But you knew it. You knew it was Truth. And sure enough, he takes off his hood, reveals that it's Ron Killings. Fans go ape shit. Everybody's happy. We marked out here on the watch along, and he nails John Cena. He attacks John Cena. I think he hits him with the belt or something maybe, but he puts down John Cena, and Cody Rhodes hits Cena then with the Crossroads, gets the win, and R-Truth is back. And like I said, it felt like the minute that happened, one of the things we were seeing the most of on social media is, it was a work. I'm like, it's not a work. It is not a work. Tito, you all right over there, buddy? It's not. He was legit. They wouldn't release him on the same day as Carlito and then like the day before Sarah Logan and be like, oh no, but his was a work. That gets really shitty. They would not do that. I don't think they're going to do that. It's not a good idea to do that. I feel like this is a situation just like Matt Hardy when he got mixed up, or when he was the victim really in that Edge and Lita triangle, and WWE let him go just to kind of keep the peace, and the fans flipped the fuck out to the point where WWE had to bring Matt back. Daniel Bryan famously in that Nexus angle choked out Justin Roberts, but they have that stupid no choking policy after the Benoit murders, and it got him released. They fired him, and the fans are like, that's idiotic. That's fucking stupid. And WWE realized, oh yeah, I guess we can be fucking idiots sometimes. And they brought him back. And I feel like this is the same thing. Today, the Worlds Collide show was on YouTube. The entire YouTube chat. We want truth. We want truth. We want truth. Even earlier on in the pay-per-view, I made mention of one of the We Want Truth signs in the crowd. It looked like one of the signs that WWE passes out. Now, I'm not saying they do, but remember the Cesaro section signs, and what's another sign that they pass out to fans? And then you hold it up. It was kind of written in that same type of font. And I'm like, yeah, the fan could have easily made that himself, but it looked like a sign that WWE would make and hand out to fans. And it was right smack dab dead center on the hard cam for most of the night. And I'm like, but I still wasn't thinking that truth was going to come back. I was just thinking like, wow, WWE can't avoid all this We Want Truth stuff. Maybe they were actually happy it was happening, and they weren't suppressing the signs, and they weren't taking them away, and they were letting the fans express themselves. And there wasn't somebody in the chat trying to delete all of the We Want Truth comments and whatnot. So they heard the fans and they responded. And I think that does supply us as an audience with a glimmer of hope. Because TKO, they're going to come across as just evil sons of bitches. Some of those things they've just been doing and saying, and how fucking greedy they are, how they just tout all these record-breaking profits they're making, and they have to cut R-Truth for budget cuts. Fuck all the way off with that. So at least there's a glimmer of hope that when it comes to who you're going to cut and what budget slashing you're going to do, maybe think it through a little bit more this time. And the fact that WWE didn't resent the fans, because that's what I was expecting. With the fans saying, we want truth, and belly aching and complaining about him being released, all I thought that was going to do is annoy Triple H. All I thought that was going to do was just make him detest us more than he already does. He does not like the fans. He does not like us. I hate to tell you. I mean, we're responsible for him making a living, but he doesn't want anything to do with us. I can kind of get that. I really enjoy the restaurant business, but sometimes I really hate the customers. So I guess I sort of understand that mentality. But Triple H does not like the fans. And I thought with the fans making enough noise about R-Truth, all that was going to do is make him more, just disgusted with us. Fuck them, it's business, that type of thing. So the fact that WWE heard the audience and they reacted, that's a promising sign. Still not ideal that R-Truth was really let go to begin with, but the fact that they kind of made it right for the audience, made it right for him, that's awesome. And apparently there are also Ron Killings merch already up on WWE Shop, so he might be known as Ron Killings from now on. Thank you for the 5, the new one. I realized it was truth once I saw black skin. I know my black people. Yeah, when he got in the ring, his shirt was just hiked up a bit, so I could see. I'm like, oh. I was like, that's truth. It definitely ain't. It ain't Santino Marella. That is our truth for sure. Juliet's reporting that Mark Kerr is going into the UFC Hall of Fame in July. Right on. Good for him. Yeah. So anyway, R-Truth is back. The show goes off the air with Cody and Jay getting the win and celebrating with Ron Killings, who apparently has just made the entire wrestling world extremely happy. Let me just pull up Peacock real quick.
Some talent that were
Triple H is on the mic now.
double duty today.
Wake up one morning here in Los Angeles. It has been nothing short of amazing.
Just trying to get a look. If anything else interesting has happened on the post show, just let us know. Ryan, yes, they have merch because it wasn't work. It came together. They put merch together. It wasn't a work. Why would it be a work? And why would you think that the merch is your biggest clue that it's a work? Your biggest clue that it not being a work is that he was released on the same day that other talent was. Why the fuck, Ryan, would you do that? It makes no sense. So with the fans, unfortunately, they're going to believe what they want regardless of, what the evidence is and what they hear to the contrary. But Ryan, I'm telling you, I promise you, when you start reading what people are learning about this situation, you are going to hear that he was legitimately told this information. We're not renewing your deal. R-Truth was released. His contract was not going to be picked up. And WWE heard the audience and said, let's reach back out to him and fix this, which they did. And you think because there's merch up that the whole thing was a work, that's your evidence? Ryan? Yeah, that's your take. That's fine. But think about it. There's a difference between what you want. See, the problem with your take, Ryan, is that you probably want it to be a work. You got to stop worrying about what you want it to be. You got to worry about what it is. And I think the fans really, I don't know why, but they really desperately want it to be a work. Why? So they can tell social media that it was all a work, most likely. So I think that anybody who is claiming that it's a work, it's because that's what they want. And unfortunately, fans sometimes can't separate what they want from what reality is. And to me, when I judge this situation without a dog in the fight, I don't give a fuck if it's a work or not, to be honest. But when I judge the situation, to me, it does not scream work. It screams the opposite of work, and it screams the same type of scenario that we've seen in the past. Matt Hardy and Daniel Bryan are the first two that come to mind. There might be others, but those are the first two that I can definitely remember WWE letting go and saying, whoopsie, and bringing them back. There might even be more, but my somewhat educated guess, I'm likely to believe that. And we've already got one report out from PW Insider that the decision to bring Truth back happened over the past 3 days. You can get merch together in 3 days, no problem. They can design something. It might even be a previously existing design, who knows? But it's probably very easy in 3 days for somebody in the graphics department to come up with some sort of shirt to throw up on WWE Shop. That way they have merch available immediately upon his return. That's how WWE does things. They're a fucking machine. So to me, I feel like the merch is just a testament to how quickly they can get shit done. And not that it means that the whole situation was a work. So all I ask is fans just try to think it through all the way through. And then if you still think that, no, definitely this is a work, then cool, present your evidence. So we'll find out, though. It feels like we're already kind of finding out. But like I said, I don't even care. Just the fact that he's back, just the fact that we get to see him again, when we thought that was going to be it. Because at his age, I thought, sure, Ron Killings could turn up in another promotion on the indies, collect bookings. We'd see him. He'd be around. But in terms of seeing him on a WWE TV again, I felt like that was the end of his career until he comes back years later to sign a Legends deal or to go into the WWE Hall of Fame. The R-Truth in WWE as we know him ceases to exist. It's over. And so the fact that he's back, it's kind of heartwarming, It's like, I'm so glad we've got him back. And we hear things like Kathy Kelly crying, on the post-show, how happy she is. Think about how many of his peers were just delighted to see him walk in the building tonight. Like, holy shit, think of the hugs he's getting backstage right now as we speak. I think that's awesome. So a rare W for WWE. It's a situation that they shouldn't have had to fix, in my opinion. You know, if you're going to let, I just think it's the timing. WWE has just the most abysmal timing on anything, because they might have gotten away with the R-Truth release if he didn't just wrestle on Saturday night's main event against John Cena, if we haven't seen him kind of involved in top-level stories. Not involved as an incredible challenger to win the championship or anything, but he's been on TV. He's been associating with John Cena. He wrestled on national television. Then he wrestled the week after that. Fans have been seeing him a lot on television. And then that's when you choose to cut him. If he wouldn't have done all that and you would have rewound to 6 months ago, sure, we were still seeing Truth on television. And a while back, he even won the tag titles with The Miz, right? So he's been doing stuff. But I feel like the fans might have, or WWE anyway, might have survived the release if they had better timing on it. It's just their timing was shit. So the fans were vocal about it. And I think the fans would have been bummed out regardless of when they released R-Truth, even if they picked a better time. But I feel like they wouldn't have received the level of backlash that they got if they would have selected maybe a better time to make that announcement, or if they would have waited, until his contract ran out or whatever. I don't know. It was just bad timing for them to inform him of that, at which point he informed all of us via social media that WWE was letting him go. And the fans got riled up and said, nah, that ain't going to happen. And they brought him back. So good on WWE, good on Triple H, good on whoever made that possible. Rarely Even, thanks for the 10. No way Truth's release was all a work. After the Rock situation, I cannot give their booking that much credit. They brought him back because of fan backlash. Exactly. But their booking, that would not be a good booking decision. Giving their booking that much credit, I would be shitting on them if this turned out to be a work. I'd be like, what kind of stupid fucking work is that? You let go Carlito and Sarah Logan basically on the same day, but then this one out of the three is going to be for storyline purposes? That's shitty. I feel like there's some things, you shouldn't make a storyline out of. I know WWE's fired people before. They fired Austin publicly on television, and we've had firing angles. But I don't know if we've ever had actual release angles. They might have done it once. But what was the point of that? Why do that? It would be one thing if there was a storyline where Ron Killings or anybody did something that was sketchy. Bronson Reed tsunamiing Seth Rollins on the car 6 times, or Braun Breaker slamming Ricochet through the glass. Same thing with Jade Cargill's attacker, slamming her through the glass, Naomi. Now, if they were to, right after that angle aired, right after Braun Breaker smashed Ricochet through the glass, if you read on WWE.com the next morning that Braun Breaker has been released, then that might feel like a work. You know what I mean? But this is completely out of the blue. This was here's R-Truth on TV, a bunch for you guys. We all know how the fans like him. Oh, now he's gone. What the fuck? If that was a work, what was the damn point? It would make no sense whatsoever for it to be a work whatsoever. At all. No sense, no sense, no sense. It is not a work. And I'm happy for Carlito. Like Ryan says, Carlito, he's going to take the reins down there in Puerto Rico at some point. Although his dad is still not super old. Carlos is still kicking. And one thing that was cool about Carlito is that he took his release really well. He does not give a shit. He knew they're not doing anything with him. He knows he's not a contender for any championships. He's going to take his money as long as he can. And if he did get renewed, it would have surprised him. So with Carlito, he's a completely different situation. He doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit at all about being let go. He was gone for so many years anywhere, where Truth has been there since 2008? Plus, when you add his previous run as K-Quick, he's put nearly 2 decades total, 20 years, into the company. And for him to be let go the way he was very disappointing to the fans. So I'm curious if he's going to be any different. Are they going to keep now, because he's Ron Killings now, so is he going to come back as the goofy, I don't know what the fuck is going on type of guy? Or is he coming back with a little bit more of an edge? And he's going to be one run as Ron the Truth Killings. Is that what WWE wants to do with him? I don't know. I kind of still hope he's somewhat comedic because he's hilarious. we'll see. We'll see what they do. Either way, welcome back, Ron the Truth Killings. Oh, Ajax Cody just admitted that on record that he and Jay were drunk during that press conference. They were. They were very drunk. I actually kind of loved that. That was one of my favorite scrum interactions of all time. Good stuff. Well, anyway, all right. I got to say, I think that was a successful Money in the Bank pay-per-view overall because I liked the outcome of most of the matches, although I still have my feelings about the Rollins win. But seeing R-Truth kind of come back in the end there kind of gave the show a good grade. If it would have been just a standard match with Cody crossroadsing Cena and winning, I might put this at a C+. But instead, I'm going to give it like a B, solid B. And R-Truth coming back to help Cody and Jay was delightful. Welcome back to the WWE Ron Killings. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us for the watch along and the review tonight. Thank you so much for being here. We will be back tomorrow. We're going to do a classic watch along of WWE King of the Ring 2001. This is where Shane McMahon goes through that glass pane, and it's a wild one. We're going to be watching that tomorrow, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. The link is already up on the channel, so you can save that for tomorrow. And that's the next time I'm going to see you guys. We're also going to be up here on Monday night after Raw because there will be a lot to discuss, especially as it relates to the latest on Ron Killings coming back to WWE. Also, we've got Gunther and Jay in a championship match on Monday. I feel like we're going to see Goldberg or Rollins or both make an appearance in that match because Goldberg is rumored to be finishing up and retiring on that July Saturday night's main event. And if you're going to set that up with Gunther, what better way or what better time for Goldberg to come back than on Monday and get involved somehow in that world title match as an attempt to protect Gunther so he doesn't have to take a clean loss. That's my guess. So we'll be here after Raw to talk about that in addition to our classic watch along tomorrow night. So thanks again for hanging out with me tonight. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and I'll be catching you guys tomorrow for the classic watch along. Peace.